Capital Views is sponsored by Northrim Bank, Alaska Oil and Gas Association, ConocoPhillips, and Linden.
Hi, I'm Tim Bradner with Alaska Legislative Digest, and a special welcome today to Capitol Views to Jomo Stewart, the President and CEO of Fairbanks Economic Development Corporation. Thanks for joining us, Jomo.
Thanks for having me.
Um, Jomo, FDIC, or Fairbanks Economic Development Corporation, has been around for a long time, and you're focusing on economic development activities in the interior. Maybe you could just speak to some of the recent activities that FDIC has been involved in.
Sure. So yeah, Fairbanks Economic Development, like any economic development corporation, our main job is to try to protect and advance the economy of our community and region. And so we do that in many ways, many facets of the economy. Big things we work on, some of the biggest actually, certainly regard energy, and particularly the cost of energy, its cost, its availability, its surety. Because when you live in one of the coldest, darkest places on the face of the planet, energy and its cost is a big deal. It can either act as a kind of one of those underpinnings upon which we can grow and build an economy, or it can act as a sea anchor, weighing it down. And of course, we have really high costs. We have that double whammy here in Fairbanks of both high cost but high demand, and trying to wrap our arms around that.
Joe, I was just going to ask, I mean, how much of Fairbanks depends right now to a large degree on heating oil? What's the latest prices of heating oil?
Yeah. Our community, our economy is heavily dependent on oil. Um, Last time I filled up, actually it was nice. Just this past weekend, I haul my own fuel oil. Both because it allows me to save a little money, but it lets me, keep a regular finger on the pulse of that commodities price. So this past weekend when I filled up, it was right around 3.20 a gallon. And actually, I rushed out to go get oil because the a couple of weeks before it had been as high as 3.98. So it's got some pretty high volatility, and it can have some very high prices. And of course, if it's being delivered, tack on an extra 50, 75 cents a dollar. So it's a big deal. So again, it was a little price softening here very recently, but again, high volatility. And in any case, our community economy was built to be sustainable at about a buck 50 a gallon fuel oil. So that's a challenge.
I mean, given those kind of prices, Joe, what does it cost to fill up your tank? Or what do you spend during the winter typically?
Oh, wow. I haven't quite done my taxes yet, so I'll have to find out. But it's thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean, when you look at those, any number of reports on the relative cost of energy in Fairbanks, compared to the lower 48, even compared to Anchorage, it's substantially higher, even at the
Well,
best.
I know that you're gradually transitioning to natural gas thanks to the interior gas utility, the new borough-owned gas utility there. And I know that they're about to start. They've been trucking from the Matsu Valley, a small LNG plant, and they're about to start. I understand later this year, trucking from the North Slope. But does that look like a solution, a good solution?
Certainly, it's helpful. It's my honor and pleasure, and FEDC's honor and pleasure to have helped establish that utility and try to expand that system. So yes, today and for years, that liquefied natural gas was produced down in the Cook Inlet. Recently, IGU achieved a contract off of the North Slope. Hillcore and their subsidiary partner Harvest. Harvest is building an LNG facility, and it's scheduled to be constructed and start sending first gas to Fairbanks by the end of this year.
That's good news. Um, what about electrical generation? I mean, you're still Golden Valley is has a mixture of fuel sources, but coal is still pretty important to Golden Valley, and they still generate most of their power at Healy, as I understand. Do they have the capability of shipping power south as well as north to Fairbanks?
That's a great question. The answer is yes, and you were correct on both of those fronts. Much of our generation here, electric generation here in the Fairbanks community, is still fueled by coal, by GBEA, but also the coal-fired centralized heat and power system up at the university, the centralized heat and power systems out at both of our installations. But yes, my understanding is, and this is, I'm glad you got touched on this. A lot of what I do, a lot of what we try to do here is find those things that we can work on a pan-Alaska basis. Those things that where we have commonality of interest with, say, our sister communities down in South Central. Energy and energy costs and energy availability is one of them. For a long, long time, we thought of the intertie system as more of a south to north enterprise, freeing up the flow of electrons, the very cheapest electrons, say from Bradley Lake, or gas-fired electrons from up in Cook Inlet. But what we saw this winter with the energy challenge down in Cook Inlet was that this intertie can serve a north to south purpose, adding a little bit of extra energy security to the Anchorage Bowl. And so, yes, my understanding is that the intertie system has a carrying capacity of about 70 megawatts. GBEA does have extra generating capacity, and that in fact they were prepared to and did send down some electrons during the crunch. And again, it would be our hope that we can continue to be that kind of helpful if Anchorage continues to have these challenges into next year.
Well, I know that there's concern about the capacity on the intertie and the ability to send with new renewable energy projects and some large ones planned in the interior as well as South Central. Concerned about the ability you bring on new renewable power. Can you get all that power through a fairly aging transmission system? Good news is we've got some federal money to upgrade that, so that might be a factor that's going to be less of a problem in the future. We
Well, so they've got some federal money to start that process. I think what the experience of this winter shows is that maybe this is a process we should expedite. Right now, the chunk of funding they have is for the lower section into Anchorage. Maybe we should see about finding that extra scratch to go ahead and again beef it up a little bit further north. So that, again, we
Yep.
yes, there's the opportunity pursuit of renewable energy, but there's the very practical need today to simply let those electrons flow.
Well, there's a lot of possibilities, but also some challenges. Well, Jomo, thank you very much for joining us.
Tim, thank you so much. It's always great to see you, sir.